Hello and welcome to the Reflection Show with me, Martha Winspice. Today we are about to talk about a topic I am passionate about, that I love so much because a lot of people like this topic, are involved in this topic, can relate to this topic, and a lot of people have actually been victims to this topic. We want to look at understanding the pregnancy journey. Are you planning to get pregnant? Are you looking at how to go about the pregnancy journey, especially to put to bed safely? I'll be speaking with Lady Pastor Dr. Priscilla Al-Hassan. She is a pediatrician and also the medical director for Excellent Touch Medical Services here in Tamale. It's a hospital for everyone, especially for children and for mothers, especially designed to give special care to every child, every woman who is pregnant, or every child who wants special care. Just take your child there to Excellent Touch Medical Services here in Tamale. We'll be giving you all the details that you need before we wrap up on the show. Let's go for a break. When we are back, we go straight into the conversation. Stay tuned. Welcome back from the break. LP Dr. Priscilla Al-Hassan, thank you very much for joining me. It's the second time on the show, trying to look at the pregnancy journey. So first of all, what is pregnancy? What is the journey? Are we going to enter a car and travel? When we talk about the pregnancy journey, what do we mean?
And thank you for having me. When we talk about the pregnancy journey, it begins from before conception. So there are some preparations that start before pregnancy occurs to copulation. Then there is fertilization. And then from there, the fetus will grow and then go through stages until the baby is finally born. And that is where mostly the pregnancy journey would end, at the birth of the child.
Okay.
Yes.
So do I have to plan and say, this month I'm getting pregnant? Or I'll just be there, I missed my period, I'm pregnant?
So you could plan pregnancy. So pregnancies can be planned or they can be unplanned. And usually, most people plan for pregnancies, but we know that they say accidents happen. So it could happen when you have not planned for it. Once the human cycle continues, then pregnancy can occur or can take you unawares. But most people would plan pregnancy. And mostly it's a married couple. And we know in our world today, there are some people that are not married, but they feel they are running out of time, they are aging, so they want to go through the pregnancy experience, and so they get pregnant by scientific methods and not through the natural process that we know. And so that also happens, but in that case, it's still planned. Then we have the unplanned, where some way, somehow, you hadn't really had it in mind to get pregnant, but because you have had an intercourse or copulation, pregnancy comes into the picture, depending on what time of the month it is.
Yeah.
And so that happens. So you can actually plan your pregnancy. Yeah.
So in any case, or in any of these ways, what do you do first when you find out that, oh, I'm pregnant? How does it start? How do you take care of yourself?
Yes, so we agree that pregnancy can be planned, right? So if you're planning a pregnancy, then you have to prepare your body for it. So stay healthy, eat healthy, and then there are some supplements that would help you so that in the event that you get pregnant, the child would also develop into a healthy baby, which everyone actually wishes for. And so you can take supplements like folic acid, which would help the central nervous system to develop properly in the child, and would help prevent or reduce the risk that the child will come out with some birth defects you see that sometimes they give birth to a child and the child has a hole at the back or has something that looks like a sore or a bulge at the back. All these defects can be prevented if we start taking certain supplements early. So with women in fertility age, which ranges from 13 years, some races, it starts from like 9 years upwards, at which point the girl or the woman can get pregnant. To the age of like 45, that's before menopause sets in, you can start taking folic acid in preparing your body.
Oh, it really works. I've heard about
Yes.
that. So taking folic acid can really help you.
Yes,
Wow.
so that you have enough source of folate to be able to enhance the development of your child. And maybe some multivitamins to improve your appetite and also to have enough stores of vitamins and a balanced diet, generally a balanced diet. So having some protein, carbohydrates, fats and oils, vegetables, all in the right proportions can help keep the body healthy and prepare you for the pregnancy journey.
Okay, so in the first 3 months.
So in the first 3 months, that's the first trimester of pregnancy. So in the first 3 months, definitely you start seeing some signs or some symptoms you start feeling. And those things, it varies from person to person.
Okay.
And even in the same woman, it can vary from one pregnancy to the other.
Oh, okay.
So if in your first pregnancy you were having excess salivation, spitting all over the place, it doesn't guarantee that in your subsequent pregnancies you experience the same thing. The symptoms vary. So we have general symptoms we usually inform mothers about, but then you don't have to expect to see all in your pregnancy. Some are able to go through pregnancy without any symptoms. They realize they are pregnant when they see that they've missed their period or
I heard people say for 5 months they've not even like some up to 5 months before they know that they're even pregnant.
And
Sometimes 3.
It happens.
So it means there's no vomiting, there's no spitting.
Bypass all that.
And they still see their period or something.
Some may see spotting. So we call it spotting because it's just a little bit at the time that you would have had your period. So you see it and you think, oh, my period has reduced, but you're actually pregnant. But just a little stain of blood would come at the time that your menses would have come. So in that case, usually they can go through to like 5 months, some 4 months before they realize they're actually pregnant. But some right from the first month, they start having symptoms. So they can
and there are some too who get their fingers big, their toes, their face, and their nose. I see they said on Tell It Moms of this pregnancy challenge, and I'm like, we those who already have big nose. I actually imagine how I look like when I get pregnant. Why, like, pregnancy just makes your face, oh God, spare me this one. Like, what are there other factors that contribute to the symptoms of a pregnant
Usually you cannot predict
what will happen to you.
One person would have. It's all controlled by hormones.
Okay.
So it depends on which hormones are reigning at that time. So it depends on the individual. So you can't really predict that would happen. But usually you would have to know the common things to expect so that if it comes, it doesn't take you by surprise. And I know women who after childbirth, even their shoe sizes have changed and doesn't go back to the previous shoe size. And so it happens. And it's all because of the excess hormones that come about with pregnancy. But there are certain things you can note and start preparing your mind for that it may come. Weight gain, you know, is normal. It happens for most women. You'd gain weight, and sometimes, as you said, it will come on your face. So increase in your nose. Some will see their face getting bigger, and some will see even their fingers and their feet toes, getting bigger and all that. But you know, mostly the weight gain will come in your middle area, around your tummy area. And that is usually expected because the body at that time realizes that you would have more need of energy and you'll be sharing your energy stores with the baby. And so the body stores up these energy so that it would be able to supply you and the baby or babies, depending on whether it's a singleton pregnancy or it's a multiple pregnancy. So the body naturally does that in order to store up enough for the baby as the baby grows. So right from early pregnancy, you may see some weight gain. You may see your tummy
But some lose
enlarging.
weight. Some,
Yes, some do lose weight.
Wow.
It's all because of
Some
the
too, their
differences.
skin color begins to dim. But some actually look very beautiful when they get pregnant.
Some
All
have
are
pregnancy glows. So they look very bright, very beautiful when they are pregnant.
You can't choose the one
And
you
others, no, you have no option. You just go with the flow, whichever comes.
Me, it's the face
And
and the
some
nose
have
that I.
acne on
Oh,
skin.
my goodness. Let's look at the second trimester.
Yes, so in the second trimester, the things that had begun in the first trimester actually continue, but some are lost or reduced or fade out by the time we are getting into the second trimester. So those who have the early morning vomiting and nausea, once you get into the second trimester, it starts fading off.
Okay.
But for some, it may persist late into the pregnancy. But for most people, we expect that once you are getting into the second trimester, those symptoms will resolve as you go. Then the child continues to develop in your womb. So once that happens, the child is increasing in size, the organs are being well formed and increasing in size. So definitely your tummy will also increase in size. And with that will also come the increase in the fluid that is housing the child.
Okay.
So all that will cause an increase in your tummy size.
Okay.
And usually when you go for antenatal visits, they would measure the size of
Your
your tummy,
okay.
because it has to correspond with how we expect the
So
tummy
it
to be
depends. There are
increasing
some
with the
people,
increase of
even
the
when
size
it's
of the child.
7-8 months, you hardly see, or you think that she just got pregnant. There are some, even 3 months, their stomach is so big. Why is it also part of hormones?
It's part of it, but mostly that would be dependent on how your tummy was before you got pregnant. So if you're someone who has a flat tummy prior to getting pregnant, then it will take time for the fat stores to build up in your tummy. And so initially you would still have your flat tummy, and the uterus would usually increase by certain marks. And so we expect when we measure, we compare, and we are sure that the uterus has gotten to where it's supposed to get. So if already you had a flat tummy and the uterus has only come to your navel, you see that it still doesn't look as big. But for someone who already had a big tummy because of probably fat, excess fat stored there, already the tummy looks big. So with a little push or a little addition with the uterus also expanding, you see that the tummy would look big earlier.
Okay.
And for some people, surprisingly, rather because they have fat stores already there and the tummy already looks big, people don't see it earlier.
Yeah.
They think, oh, this person is
That's-
just putting
yeah,
on more
weight,
weight.
yeah.
And so by the time they see it,
They are giving
the
birth.
child is about to come, or the mother is already due. So it's due to individual variances, and also because of fat stores around the abdomen already there or absent. Yes.
The last trimester, then we just look at antenatal.
So in the last trimester, the growth of the child increases. And at this time, the organs are already fully developed. And so it's just increase in the size, and then increase in the amniotic fluid, or the fluid that houses the baby. And
Okay.
also definitely the plaster will have to increase so that it can meet the needs of
Okay.
the growing fetus. And at this point, if you go for antenatal, or when you go for the scans they do, we'll do one in the early pregnancy,
Okay.
second month, the second trimester,
Trimester.
and then the third
Okay.
trimester. So then they are monitoring to see the size of the child. Has the child grown well? Is the child adequate? Is the size of the child adequate for that time of the pregnancy? Or is the child too small?
Okay.
Or is the child too big at that time?
The one that they'll put something on your stomach and they'll be as if they are listening to the baby inside.
With that one, they are listening for heart sound.
Oh.
So with that one, they are listening for the heart sound. With the ultrasound, you actually go to radiology units or a center where they have ultrasound services. So they scan the abdomen, and then they do all these measurements. And advise us on how it goes, because depending on the size of the child, it may inform the mode of delivery. So whether the child is going to be born vaginally or the child has to be sectioned, all that would contribute. So at this point, we are preparing for the child to come out. So if we do these scans, it helps us plan with the mother as to how the child should come. Are we waiting for labor to start, or looking at the size of the child or whatever is going on? We'll have to plan a section. And you know, sometimes, depending on the condition of the child, you think that this child is fine, then you plan to wait until labor starts. But something may still happen. That's why even in the 3rd trimester, you don't just go once for antenatal care. They give you a schedule. So either you are going monthly or you are going 2 weekly, or when you are even due, you now have to go every week, so that they see if anything is changing, then they can plan an emergency cesarean section and bring your baby out before there are any problems with the pregnancy or with the baby.
Okay, I want us to come back and look at the antenatal as a whole, importance and all of that. But I want us to go for a break. When we come back, we are about to look at everything antenatal. Why you have to go for antenatal checkups and how they can even detect. So we also add that detecting if the child is safe, any sicknesses and all of that in the baby. Stay tuned, we'll be right back.
Books by Pastor A.L. Fant. They are inspired by the Holy Spirit, simple to comprehend, relevant in application, and so lovely to read. Grab copies like Dynamics of Kingdom Influence, Dynamics of Ministry, Mark is King for Church Workers, Money Matters, and she calls herself a woman. This marriage must work. No more curses. Loaded mouth. Secrets of kingdom dominion. The exploits of service. Things fall apart. Church without bleeding pulpit. Singles mingle, and many more.
Welcome back from the break. We have come to understand the pregnancy journey, breaking them into trimesters, how to prepare, you plan, and when the baby comes in. But some of us, I've never been pregnant, but some of us women don't like going for antenatal. We don't know why. Some of us, when you hear you are pregnant, you'll be like, oh, it's too early, let me wait small. LP, why should every woman who gets pregnant, from the day they realize they are pregnant, why should they take antenatal services seriously?
Okay, so basically we are looking at the relevance of antenatal care in the pregnancy journey, right? And so right from day one, as you said, once you realize you are pregnant, you go for your booking visit, which is the very first visit to the antenatal clinic. And what antenatal services in Ghana seeks to achieve is that it's supposed to help monitor the mother and take care of her well-being throughout the pregnancy journey. But it doesn't end there. It also looks at the child. So it's a whole comprehensive care that looks at the health of both mother and child and their well-being, such that in the end we can get a healthy mother and healthy baby or babies, depending on what kind of pregnancy it is. So it's very important, because once you book they do initial laboratory investigations and sometimes ultrasound in order to establish that you are healthy as a mother and that the fetus in your body is also healthy and can be carried through to the end, till the 9 months that we usually expect pregnancy to go through. So they'll ask you to produce urine, they'll take some blood samples and do these lab tests. And usually they would inform you of the results of these lab tests, so that if there was any condition that you as the mother had, but because you were not showing any signs of it, you didn't know you had it, and if it can have an impact on the pregnancy, usually it would be detected early, so that they let you know. Because with some of the conditions, there are some additional measures we'll have to take, so that if it's an infection that can be transmitted to the child, they may need to give the child certain injections immediately they are born, so that they do not get the infection from you. And there are some others, maybe immediately they are born, there are certain steps that have to be taken, so that whatever condition the mother had would not be passed through. And for some of the conditions, it may affect the mother during the pregnancy, because the extra stress of adding pregnancy to it may affect the health of the mother. So we have to monitor these people very closely. So we call these category of people high-risk pregnancies. Then we have the low-risk pregnancies. So we do our investigations and we realize the mother is healthy. There's nothing medically that should prevent her from carrying the pregnancy to term. But then from practice, we know that even though a pregnancy can start as low risk, during the pregnancy journey, there are some things that can happen to make or to convert the pregnancy from a low risk to a high risk. So that is why right from the booking, it's necessary for you to continue going, because at the booking, they'll investigate, they'll make sure you are healthy. And then if there's anything, they pick it up and then they plan for it. So you continue, so that if at any point anything is going wrong with your health or with the health of the baby, it would be picked up, so that we can correct it if possible, or we can give you close monitoring, or we can put you on medication for it, just in preparation to get a healthy mother and healthy baby at the end of the journey, the pregnancy journey that you are going through. And getting close to delivery, you have to continue going, so that the monitoring will continue, so that if at any point they have to go plan a cesarean section to bring your child out early, they'll do that. If even you are 10, but the child is not coming at the time you're supposed to come, which we'll call post-date. Your days are exceeding, but the labor has not started. Then they would go and section, and you get your child. Both of you are happy. So at every point in time, you have to take the antenatal care serious, because at any point in time, anything can happen. Today, you might be fine, baby might be fine, but tomorrow, the tables could turn. And so it's a very delicate
And there's some signs that
situation.
even apart from going to antenatal, because there are situations where we hear that the baby's heart is not beating. Sometimes we hear that the baby is not having enough food to eat or something, but the mother doesn't know that. Is it just the kicking? Sometimes they even go in there like the baby has even died in the womb. How long, so with that, how long does it take to take the baby out? If not, how long, if it's not done, will it affect the mother?
Okay, so during the antenatal care, I think initially you mentioned something about them listening with an instrument to listen, and I told you it was the heartbeats that they are listening for. So every antenatal visit, we listen for the heartbeats. Usually the midwives would do that to be sure that the heart is beating well. If we are using that instrument, which we call the fetoscope, and we are not hearing anything, we go a step further to use a machine that would record the heartbeat of the child and tell us whether it's going too fast, it's going too slow, or it's not present at all. And usually we do that every visit. So if at any point you stop and the baby dies or the baby is struggling in the womb, you wouldn't be able to pick it up as a mother. But then with every visit, there are certain danger signs that we ask for. If it's not present, we inform you, the mother. If you have bleeding at any point in the pregnancy, whether in the early pregnancy, the second trimester or the third trimester, is not considered normal. So you have to immediately go to a hospital near you or go back to the antenatal clinic, and then we'll investigate and find out why there's bleeding. And if at any point you are losing liquor, that is the fluid in which the child moves and lives until the child comes out. If you see that it's coming at any point, unless of course you are due and your date is up and you are already ready for the child to come, at which point it's not likely to be problematic. But if before then, before your due date, you start seeing the liquor coming, that is also a danger sign.
Wow.
You have to go back immediately to see your health practitioner. And if at any time you realize that the movement that had started, and usually from 16, 17 weeks of pregnancy, we call it quickening, the movement of the baby would start. And so we tell you that as a mother, take some time to observe how your baby moves in the tummy, so that if you are used to how your baby moves, if the movement of the baby is decreasing or has gone down, you'll be able to pick it so that you go to your health practitioner. We would prefer that you come with a feeling that your baby's movement is going down, and we'll check and everything
So
is
at
normal.
what point should a mother expect, I'm touching my tummy, should the mother expect the movements of the baby in the tummy?
So that's from 16 weeks, some from between 16 and 17 weeks.
Okay.
That is when movements starts.
Okay.
Yeah, so we call it quickening. So I'm giving you some of the medical
Hey,
terms, so that when you go and you hear them
yeah,
talking about
so
it,
one
you
day,
will
my
understand.
twins will be quickening me in my womb.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what could cause a baby to pass on, to die in the womb?
So there are many factors that can cause that. So as I said, if the mother has some illness already that is, should I say, hostile to the child, then that can cause the child to pass away. And then there are some other conditions that are the baby factors. So we have the mother factors, and then we have the baby factors. So baby factors, God in his own wisdom, when the child is not formed well, the body would sort of bring it out. So it terminates on its own when the child is not formed well. So usually you see this in the first trimester. So you see that some people say, oh, I had a spontaneous abortion. It's God's own way of bringing out those that were not well formed, so that you prepare.
But that's even
for
the early
subsequent-
stages.
Yes, that's in the early stages.
But if the child, so is it possible that up to even second trimester or even before the child is born, the baby can pass on?
Yes, so the baby can still pass on any time in the pregnancy. But you know, for a baby to survive in the womb, it has to have adequate conditions in the womb. So let's say in our environment, for anyone to survive, you have to have enough food, you have to have a good weather, not very hot, not very cold, and then everything has to be in moderate quantities. So the environment of the child has to be adequate for the child to be able to survive. And you know that the child is picking nutrition from the mother. So if at any point the mother's own nutritional status goes down, it could affect the health of the child. And the child is connected to the mother via the placenta. So if any condition in the mother causes the placenta to detach, then the child could pass away, because the sort of nutrition that should have gone to the baby and allowed the baby to survive has been cut off, and so the child may pass on. And in our environment, most often it's pregnancy-related hypertension, or if the mother had hypertension already before getting pregnant, that is one of the commonest causes of the placenta getting detached. Or if the mother is involved in an accident that hits the tummy, it can cause
I think I've seen some
placenta
that
to come
even
off.
sometimes they fall, they can even fall
It
either
happens.
side
Yeah.
or even on their tummy. I just
It
want
happens.
to
If there's
imagine that.
trauma to the tummy, it can cause the placenta to detach. And
Wow.
then once that happens, definitely baby is not going to get enough nutrients. Or in some conditions, if the umbilical cord connecting the baby to the placenta gets tied or gets wrapped around the baby's neck, then all those could cause the baby to pass away. So those are the maternal factors.
So
as well.
what is the risk factor? How long can a baby stay in the womb? You know, 'cause sometimes it ends up by affecting the mother. And you hear that sometimes they have to even remove the womb of the mother because the baby affected, or some might even end up losing their lives. At what point that, let's say 5 days, 1 week, if the dead baby is not removed from the womb, can affect the mother?
Usually it depends on what caused the death of the baby.
Okay.
If it's something that was already affecting the mother, then it could be faster than that. It might not, it could happen, it could affect the mother within hours.
Wow.
Yes, so it depends on what caused the demise of the child. But once the child is dead, it's advisable that within 24 hours or in the quickest time possible, you get the baby out of the womb. And for sometimes they would assess the cervix. If the cervix would allow the child to be born, they can induce labor for the child to come out. But there are some times that you just have to go in and get the child out as quickly as possible. And so it's not something that we have to delay on, or you feel that your child has stopped moving, then you want to wait, your husband has traveled, you want to wait till he comes home in 1 week before you go to the hospital, because the complications can happen very rapidly. Within hours, you can just go down like that. And so at any point, if you suspect that the movement of your child has stopped, you can't feel any movement, it's good that we advise you rush to the nearest hospital. Let them do their checks and be sure of what is going on, whether the child is still alive or dead. But once the child is dead and stays in your tummy, the longer the child stays, the higher the risk that you, the mother, will develop complications leading to death.
So now, how do we look at, because after the child is born, now let's look at after the child is born. What are the most important things that, I think the most commonest thing we hear is exclusive breastfeeding. Beyond that, in the first 6 months, from the day that the child is born to the first 6 months, what should the parent or the mother know especially?
Okay, so from the day the child is born, usually would advise that you get a skilled person to attend to the delivery. Because even during the delivery process, anything can happen. So we advise that you deliver in a hospital setting, or maybe a CHIPS compound, or a clinic, or a health center where there is skilled labor present, where there is a midwife present, where there are nurses, there's a doctor that can supervise the delivery and detect if there's a problem, so that they can refer you early for any intervention that can be put in to be done. And so it starts from there. Because if even during the pregnancy or the delivery process there's a problem, it could affect the outcome. So this could be a child who was healthy, but if there's a delay, you take so many hours for the baby to come out, the baby could struggle or could become what we call asphyxiated, because he's not getting enough air, because he's stuck in there. He's already not supposed, he's supposed to be out by now, but he's stuck in there. So he's not getting enough oxygen getting to him, because the placenta is also coming off, because it's preparing to come out. And so in that case, some complications could happen. But once the baby is delivered, the baby is healthy. The baby cries at birth. The baby is not blue. You don't see any yellowing, and you don't see any danger signs. Then from there, the baby usually right after birth, if there's no problem, baby is crying, would be attached to the mother. So we advise the skin to skin care. So right from there, you are attached to the the mother, whilst you even continue to work on the mother. So even before the placenta is delivered, you can attach the baby to the
Okay.
mother, so that the baby starts drawing some heat from the mother and also starts establishing a bond with the mother. And in some instances, you even put the baby on the mother's skin, and the baby naturally is able to locate the breast and start suckling.
Wow.
Even before the mother is cleaned up and the mother is transferred out of the labor ward. And so that is what we advise. So that is the first steps we take. And then there are certain medications that right at birth would say give to the child, so that it will prevent certain illnesses that we know can happen in the newborn period. And depending on whether the mother already had some existing infection or condition already, there are other added things we may do. Then from there we move to our exclusive breastfeeding.
I've heard that the first breast milk is very good, but some say it's dirty.
I think it's all tradition. And so they are all myths that affect us in the long run. So it's very healthy. But because the color is different from subsequently, something is dirty. And so they express it and throw it away, which shouldn't be the case, because that's what we call the colostrum. It's very high in proteins. It's very high in antibodies that the baby would get some immunity from the mother, but some express it and throw away. But for those watching, please don't throw it away. It's very healthy. Give it to the baby. Allow the baby to suck.
Give it to the babies. I want us to look at the commonest illness that parents should expect from, let's say, from birth to 6 months or from 6 months to 2 years. Let me look at 2 years. What are some of the common illness that children usually are, or let me say contract, or every mother should expect that a child will contract?
Okay,
and how
so
to deal with it?
In our environment, we had the childhood killer diseases, but these have gone down because of the immunization schedule that government implemented and is still implementing. So those conditions were recognized, and then they were able to get the vaccines for them, and they give it routinely now. But we know some people have some mindset and misconception about taking immunizations, and so sometimes those are not taken and these diseases start emerging again. But during the period, they could get sepsis, which means that they have some infection either from the birthing process, or maybe immediately after that, conditions that they experience can make them get infection. So usually once the infection spreads to the rest of the body, we would call it sepsis. And then another condition that is common in the newborn period would be jaundice. So the jaundice can be from different conditions. So it's not just one thing that will cause one condition that will cause jaundice. And the jaundice is just a term representing the fact that the skin or the eyes or the soles of the feet or the palm have become yellow. That is jaundice. So it is not a condition in its own. It's just the sign that something has gone wrong. And those are the common things that we usually see. So depending on what is causing it, then the treatments may vary. So two babies may come looking yellow, but our treatments will be different for them depending on what caused the jaundice. But in our environment, the commonest cause for jaundice could be infection. As I mentioned earlier, it could result in jaundice, or if there's incompatibility between the blood groups of the parents. So we would call that the ABO incompatibility, because as human beings, we have blood groups A, B, and O. So if at any point you have blood groups that do not agree, then once the baby is in, and then the blood group of mother mixes with blood group of father, especially if the baby takes the father's blood group, then the mother's body may recognize it as foreign and may start to reject it. Or immediately after the child is born and during the birthing period, the blood of the child mixes with that of the mother, then you may see this jaundice occurring, because it's like the mother's blood group is gone inside, like transfusing someone with blood group that is not compatible with the person. So it starts rejecting it. So it starts breaking down the baby's own blood cells. And so you see it by the yellowing of the hands.
Okay.
Another one is G6PD. So there are a lot. There are lots of conditions that can cause jaundice in a baby. Then another common condition is birth asphyxia. So as I said, if during the birthing
Birth
period something
asphyxia.
goes
Calm
wrong,
down small.
I'm trying to explain it. So if during the pregnant and the delivery period something goes wrong and the baby is not able to get enough oxygen into the system, let's say the baby is born and right in the first minute of life the baby is not able to breathe on his own, or there was prolonged labor, and so the child at the point that he was supposed to get oxygen or was supposed to be able to breathe, the child didn't
not
breathe,
getting, yeah.
then at that time there is very little oxygen getting to the brain, and that is when it will start causing some injury to the brain. So that is what we'll refer to as the birth asphyxia. It comes in different degrees of severity, so it can be mild, it can be moderate, or it can be severe. But when it's severe, mostly it's very difficult. You now end up getting children with special needs like cerebral palsy because of the injury that has happened to the brain and which the brain cannot recover from.
Wow, it's getting a lot of things are being said. I want us to go for a break. When we come back, I think the cases of measles have become so high. I want us to deal with that a bit, then we'll wrap up. Stay tuned.
Books by Pastor A.L. Fant. They are inspired by the Holy Spirit, simple to comprehend, relevant in application, and so lovely to read. Grab copies like Dynamics of Kingdom Influence, Dynamics of Ministry, Mark is King for Church Workers, Money Matters, and she calls herself a woman. This marriage must work. No more curses. Loaded mouth. Secrets of kingdom dominion. The exploits of service. Things fall apart. Church without bleeding pulpit. Singles mingle, and many more.
Back from the break, we have been looking at the pregnancy journey, going through all that it entails in all the trimesters. We've looked at antenatal, and there's been a high risk or a high rise in measles cases among children, and I think that is a cause for every parent, in fact everyone, because you won't be happy that every day in the news a child has died. LP, let's go straight to look at measles. What is even measles, and how can mothers prevent or even get vaccinated against it?
Okay, so measles is a viral infection. It's also called rubella. But then the measles is what is commonly known, so we'll just stick with the measles. So measles is a viral infection, and it was one of the 6 killer diseases. And so government added it to the expanded immunization program. And so for every child that is born at 9 months and at 18 months, they're supposed to get the measles injection. But usually it doesn't come alone. To manage costs, it comes with the mumps injection. Okay, so for every child that is born by 9 months of age and then by 18 months, you're supposed to send your child for these immunizations. But you know the immunization starts right from birth and carries through. And so we'd like to encourage every mother to take immunization serious, as it can prevent some of these diseases. So it's preventable by immunization. And recently we had an increase or an outbreak. We call it an outbreak when you have so many children being infected within a stipulated period. And so there's been an outbreak, which when it began, we saw the cases more from the northern region and then sort of spreading to other regions. But within the northern region, as of last week, the Ghana Health Service reported over 70 cases who have been tested and are positive. But for the suspected cases, there are so many. Even in TTH alone, we have over 100 suspected cases.
Wow.
But we've not had all the results yet. And so measles usually is spread through the respiratory tract. So if the child is coughing, the child is sneezing, releases it into the air or onto a surface. So once another person in the vicinity comes into contact with whatever has been sneezed out or coughed out, then you are likely to get it once you inhale it. Or if it has fallen on a surface and you touch the surface and you touch your eyes, your nose or your mouth with the unwashed hand, then you could also contact the measles virus. And so usually, just like we did for COVID, if you do proper hand washing and all that, you are not likely to get in touch with or contact the measles virus. But we know for children, it's difficult. The child will crawl around, walk around, touch things, and someone is sneezing, he doesn't know he has to move away, and so it easily spreads amongst them. But it can occur in adults and adolescents too. But in this case, we have seen it more in our children. And we believe that this occurred because during the COVID era, you know, there was a lockdown at a point. So mothers could not even go to the child welfare clinic, or even if they could, they'll say, oh, it's COVID time, no one will be there. So they stay in the house, and they missed some of the immunizations. And apart from that, we believe that somehow there may have been a shortage of the vaccines. But we believe the bulk of the problem was because of the break in going for the child welfare clinic because of the lockdown from COVID. And so that's why we are seeing the measles cases increasing or resurfacing in our environment, and more especially in the northern region. So we've had some of these cases. Unfortunately, we've had some passing away or dying as a result of the measles. But then, apart from the fact that a child can die from it, there are certain long-term complications that could happen once the measles has not been prevented and the child gets it. So in the immediate circumstance, the child can start with having a fever, and then you see a rash that is developing. So they say reddish rash, but you know, in our dark skin, sometimes it's difficult to recognize it as being red. But in this period, if you see any rash on your child that you are not sure of what it is, please go to a hospital, because if it's not noticed and taken care of, it might progress. And then even if it resolves on its own, it might leave some damage that later on in life would start causing problems for your child. And so once you see a rash you are not sure of, then you have to take the child to hospital to get it seen, and then we move from there. So once the child can have fever, the child can develop a rash. And usually it's very effective if 4 days before the rash develops, and then 4 days after the rash develops. So after these days, or after 4 days after the rash develops, then it's usually no longer infective, or it becomes less infective. So at that time, if you're coming into contact with the patient, you may not become infected with. So, you know, with mothers, it's very difficult to tell, especially if she has that, oh, this one is just a rash, it will go, so let me wait. And within that time, other children in the house, other children in the environment are getting it. So the very first day you notice a rash on your child, just bring your child to hospital. And sometimes the rash doesn't start immediately. It might start with a fever, and it may start with cold symptoms, so your child has a runny nose, that might just be the symptoms that the child has measles. But unless you bring your child to the hospital, if you assume that it's just a cold and would go, you wouldn't know whether it's measles or not. So we encourage you to bring the children. And we know that once they get that, they can get a pneumonia, which is one of the complications of measles. A pneumonia either from the measles itself, because it's a pathogen. It's a virus, so it can cause infection in the lungs. Or because the measles is already there, it has reduced the immune system, or it has suppressed the immune system. So bacteria, other bacteria that shouldn't have caused a problem, could go in and now complicate it with the pneumonia. And then
it's
they can
a
have
big topic.
diarrhea and some other.
I think it's really a whole big issue that a lot of mothers should really take this very, very seriously. Give us your final words that we can look at Excellent Touch Medical Services.
So my final words, if you're preparing for pregnancy, or if you are not even actively preparing for pregnancy, but you're a woman within fertility age, so right from 9 years, when some people start getting their menses, through to 45 years, it's good you start preparing your body. So stay healthy, exercise, eat a balanced diet, and start taking some supplements that would help keep your body fit and prepared to carry pregnancy, so that you reduce some of the complications that would come, and you would get a healthy mother and a healthy baby.
Healthy mother and a healthy baby. Now let's look at Excellent Touch Medical Service. The name is even Excellent Touch. Tell us about it and the services that you run and how people can get in touch with you.
So as the name implies, we want to give an excellent touch to our children, to the children of the northern regions.
Tamale to be precise.
Tamale to be precise. And the whole Ghana. We want to believe that will be a center of excellence, such that people will refer from every corner of the north and maybe the world to seek our services. And so for now, we are starting a children's hospital, so that will start running soon, but we also do medical supplies. So as part of the children's hospital, we would have specialist clinics, we would have inpatient care and outpatient care as well. We have physiotherapy sessions for children with special needs who would need to undergo physiotherapy, and then we'll have speech therapy for those children that are supposed to be talking at their age, but they have not started talking. There's something called speech therapy that we offer, so that it helps the children develop their language skills. And so we'll have speech therapy as well. And then we have pharmacy services, we have laboratory services available.
It's a complete
and
hospital on its
play
own.
Therapy. It's for our children. We want them to feel comfortable. So as they come, when they are waiting to be seen, we'll have play therapy. So they have their toys, they have a playground to play, and
don't let the children every day. Don't say let's go to the hospital because they want to go and play.
Yeah, so it's a child-friendly environment that they can come and then receive medical care as well as get healing or get treatments for any ailments that is there. But it's not only targeted at those who are sick. We have well child clinics. So because we are in Tamale and we are in Dagomba land, we call it the Alafe Clinic. So that the child is well. It's not showing any symptoms. But once or twice a year, we want the parents to just bring the child. Let's examine the child. Let's assess the development of the child, so that if there's anything that is going wrong, we can catch it early. And if your child is healthy, we'll give you more tips to keep your child healthy, and also to help with their learning and other skills that they are supposed to develop even as they grow. And so those are some of the services. And as I was mentioning off air, we have the Mother Care Clinic. So we believe the life of the child begins in the womb. So right from there, we want to monitor the development of the child, even in the mother's womb. So we offer some antenatal services, which is called the Mother Care Clinic. So that we are able to monitor
plenty things in one hospital. Excellent things.
All in one place.
And you're where are you located?
So we are located at Chogoya Palse, about 100 meters off the Koila Junction.
Okay, so you can also get in touch with, I think, on their social media handles, Excellent Touch Medical Services. Just check them up everywhere. And then you can also give us a call with our numbers on the screen on the Reflection Show. We can get in touch with them for you, or even send you their contact details for service. If you're not in Tamale, don't worry. I believe you can do virtual consultations
yes.
as well.
We do telephone medicine as well.
Yeah, all of that can be done. All in all, this episode is geared towards making all of us understand that pregnancy is a whole big deal. You don't have to joke with it, play with it, or think that, oh, it's just pregnancy. You may end up complicating a lot of things. Let's take pregnancy seriously, and we will see a lot of our wives, our mothers, our sisters staying healthy and staying alive. This year, one of the focus areas that we'll be looking at is maternal mortality. I think we even began that last year. Looking at maternal mortality is a big issue. We need to stop seeing our women losing their lives because they went to have a child. Let's go for a break. We'll be back with thoughts. Stay tuned. Hello and welcome to Thoughts from Martha Inspires. Today, I want to beg every woman out there to take the pregnancy journey seriously. There are times that we take it for granted because we feel that, oh, my friend gave birth at home. My friend had this complication and she took this medication and she was fine. So you think that you'll be fine. We just had a conversation about this, and we said that everybody have a different kind of hormones. It might differ from person to person. So if your friend or your mother gave birth at home, or your friend did something that worked for her during pregnancy, it doesn't mean that you too would do that. In the last 5 years, I have lost about 7-8 people that I know directly or even indirectly through maternal mortality. Last year, I lost a very good friend. His wife passed on because she went to give birth. There are people that we hear from about, even in school, at work site, wherever. And oh, the woman went to the hospital to give birth. She passed on, or she went through a particular section or whatever, and something happened, or she wasn't eating well, or she wasn't taking her medications. I understand that sometimes the medications can get on your nerves, but it's for your good. We can't keep losing women just because they went to give life. No. And to the husbands, the fact that she's an African woman doesn't mean that she should be working 24/7 while she's pregnant. Let's do what will help our pregnant women, because when they die, we won't be happy about it. Please and please, make sure that you are going for antenatal. Make sure that you are taking care of yourself and your wife who is pregnant. I believe that this episode will encourage all of you and would inspire you and equip you to take the pregnancy journey very seriously, because we need to keep our women alive. Thank you for watching this episode. I am Martha Inspires. Have a good night.